Hi everybody, it's Grace. Welcome to Eating Peace this week. One of the biggest questions I get from people who write and ask about eating peace is, how do I stop eating right now? I'm out of control. I am totally and completely out of control. I'm eating everything in sight. I can't stop. If you find yourself in that kind of situation where maybe you are on a binge spree, you're eating every day. This has been a cycle for a long time, or you've even just had a huge binge. You've stuffed yourself with everything in sight, or you've just overeaten yet again. I mean, the levels are different from every single person based on their experience and their way that they're working with food in their lives and what their relationship has been like with eating. So as long as it's suffering, it's suffering. It doesn't matter what you've done. Some people just, flip out if they eat one little thing of something that's not on their food plan, or if they've got a food plan, So we're just taking a look at whatever makes you feel really, really out of control, when you're just driven to do something and consume in a way that feels frantic and wild and against your own best interest, and like there's some sort of other thing taking over here. So if you feel like you're in that kind of situation, that position, you can start with the most simple inquiry. I cannot stop eating. Is that true? And I know it might seem sort of trite, is it true? I mean, to sit with those 4 questions, but just notice the excuses or the commentary or the committee that will, you open the door of that committee room and it's screaming and chattering and yelling. You've got to find an answer immediately right now. You've got to figure this out. Just watch that, but still answer the questions. It might attack and say, this isn't going to work. It can't be this simple. It can't be this simple. But answer the question. Is it true that you cannot stop eating today? Is it true you can't start fresh right now, all over again? Is that absolutely true? Is somebody, locking you, like with in prison, handcuffs, forcing you to eat? I know that's not true. And there's not going to be some kind of feeling of, I don't want to add to you feeling self-critical and negative about what you've been doing with food and eating, because it's there for an extremely good reason. It's not just out of the thin blue air that you happen to be somebody who's consuming wildly. But when you begin to criticize yourself on top of also consuming and eating in a way that feels out of control, you lay this incredibly dark, thick blanket over the whole thing so that you become blind to why you were driven to eat in the first place. You almost just can't even sort it out. You're so weighted down with guilt and self-condemnation, self-hate. We all know what that feels like, and it's very, very bitter, but it's very closed. It doesn't give much information. It doesn't let you explore or investigate further. So I just find, if I ask and answer that question, is it true that I cannot stop? No. I'm physically capable of stopping in any given moment when I think I can't. It's really interesting. It's just so compelling, and the feelings are so incredibly overwhelming that it feels like you can't stop. The emotional pain feels really, really acute, feels very, very harsh and difficult, like you just can't stand that moment without putting some food in it. And I've talked about this before, but just, once again, take a look. If you said, yes, I can't stop, it's almost like I'm overtaken by some kind of zombie and I'm walking to the refrigerator or driving in my car, finding food to eat. It just feels like that. Can you absolutely know it's true that you are completely unable to stop, that you aren't there anymore, that you were taken over by some kind of other creature, that isn't you, the one that wants to move against your best interests and stuff your face? Can you absolutely know it's true that you are unable to stop? I couldn't find that. And this is definitely not just keep on holding this without adding to it. Oh, well, then that means if I'm able to stop, you're right. Nobody's holding a gun to my head while I'm eating. That means it must be something wrong with me. We're not jumping to that conclusion. We're not suddenly deciding that we know that since we physically are able to stop, it means something terrible is going on about me. I must be missing something or rotten to the core or just one giant compulsion or a walking addiction, right? It doesn't mean that. Can't absolutely know any of that's true. Just notice how you react when you believe, I cannot stop. I cannot tolerate the feelings. I can't handle this moment without putting food in it. It's just watching. Usually it has something to do with feelings. I cannot tolerate this feeling. I have to fix or change or smash down or get rid of this feeling. What could it be? I suggest looking at what you're afraid of, what feels like fear or powerlessness, complete powerlessness, besides food and eating. What else are you thinking? What else is going on in right now, in your life, in the moment, in exchanges with other people, in conversations, in your mind, in your memories, what you're thinking and believing that feel really powerless, like you just have no choice, lose-lose situation, or fear has been heightened. Fear is really sparked, and you feel nervous and anxious and worried, afraid about you're anticipating something's going to happen, or something happened and you're afraid it's going to repeat itself. And usually that's what's happening if you really feel like you're eating completely out of control. Third reason that I often speak to around compulsive eating is just an incredible emptiness, like a boredom. But frantic eating usually, I noticed, did not come out of boredom. Frantic, wild, intense, painful, heartbreaking eating, it feels like you're just inhaling the food, is fear or powerless. Sense of fear or powerlessness. Just see what else in your life you might be feeling afraid of, but has nothing to do with food and eating, or powerless around. Nothing to do with food or eating. Those pictures might flash in your mind. Those images might be there, just hanging right over your shoulders. Discomfort with other people that are really important to you. Nervousness about something happening. Who would you be without the story that you cannot stop eating? That, you're controlled by something's walked into your body and taking over, like the zombie thing. Who would you be without the thought, I cannot stop? I can't stop eating. You might stop. And this is to hold this without criticizing yourself. That is the key important thing. So you don't jump to conclusion and say, oh, without the thought, I can't stop eating. It means I'm just eating, and I'm eating wildly, and I'm even consciously eating wildly, and it's me. The mind really, really, really loves to go to that. But let's say it's not your fault and it's not you. It's just the way your mind is thinking. It's the way you've been perceiving things. There's thoughts, and they have appeared in your life, and they make sense that they're there. They should be there. Not that they should be gone. They should be there as long as they are. And maybe they all make sense, the way things have been put together, that this is going on at the moment. So who would you be just without the thought of, I can't stop eating, or I can't handle it, can't take this feeling, the fearful feeling or the powerless feeling? Who would you be without the thought, I can't? I can't. Just, hold still there for a moment. Feel it. You can even push the pause button on this video. Who would I be without the thought, I can't do that? I can't stop. You might notice you're stopping. Just a little awareness of the capacity to stop. Noticing no one is forcing you. Your fear is maybe driving you to eat. A sense of powerlessness is driving you to eat. Feeling, kind of out of control of something else in life, but is eating required, even if you're out of control in that other place. Or don't feel any power, personal authority in some level. Can you stop eating? It's interesting because things like eating or your compulsive choices often feel temporarily pretty good. We wouldn't do them if they didn't feel good at all. They actually work for a little while. Something about, the motion of food coming in the mouth, and it's like words are stuffed back, or it's this activity and things are pushed down or inhale. You feel kind of solid and full and grounded, and that can happen. It can happen for a little while, and then you just begin to feel stuffed and sick and horrible. So it tips over the balance, and you no longer get that feeling anymore. But so it's just watching. Who would you be without the thought, I cannot stop eating? And then turn the thought around to the opposite. I can stop eating. I don't need to eat. If I need to eat, I do not need to. I can't stop eating. I can stop eating. It's a choice. It's a choice. I'm not completely overtaken by some other force that's beyond me, that is completely the one in control, making me, eat or do something I don't want to do. I am the one, actually, in the end, in control of just my action, my behavior, and what I'm consuming in this moment. I'm the one. And nothing wrong with if I choose to do it, if I feel I can't really handle it, or it's going to take the edge off, or whatever I need to do. Just really watching that other thing that wants to come in and make it your fault. Put all the responsibility so heavy and deep on yourself. But just without attack. That's like a real attack to the self. But just see if you can hold, I am able to stop. I can stop. I'm capable. And find the examples. I could actually just sit here. I could lay on the floor. I could lie down on the floor and just stay there. Just stay there for a while. Drop. I always like the emergency preparedness vision in my head of stop, drop, and roll. So if your clothes catch on fire, that's what you're supposed to do. I've never seen anyone whose clothes caught on fire, and I've never had mine catch on fire, but it feels like that when you're having an emotional response that's so intense like this. What if you actually dropped to the floor and started rolling around? I don't care where you are. But usually when you have this out of control drive, you're at home, you're by yourself, you're secretively eating. If you notice, when it's super intense, fast, wild, can't stop, it's that kind of eating. You're doing it in secret. You're doing it by yourself. You're not really stuffing yourself right in front of other people. It usually tends to be the thing. So, what if you just dropped to the floor in your house, and rolled around a little bit? You just see. I can stop eating. I am able to put the fire out. I'm able to just do nothing. And it's possible. It is my mind, the other turnaround. My mind and my thinking cannot stop eating, consuming, grabbing, taking in, believing everything that's coming through my mind that feels frightening, or where I feel like I have no power, and I'm believing everything that comes through there. I'm believing it instead of watching it and observing it and letting it float by unbelieved. I'm not even investigating. So my mind is doing that. Like a hungry ghost, they say in Buddhism. It's this ghost that's hungry. Ghost has no boundaries, so it's just eating and eating and eating and never, ever getting enough. But it's my mind that's so hungry. And I can see, what is my heart actually hungry for? I mean, if I really wanted to be tender and kind to myself, what do I need to eat where I would be satisfied? What do I want? Love, connection, honest contact, genuine sharing with other people? Do I want to ask for help? Do I need to sit with somebody? Do I need to get with others? That's often a sense of contact instead of separation is a really, really wonderful way to live a turnaround. Go get with other people. Just call somebody up and say, can I come over? I don't even know what I want to talk about right now. If you don't feel like telling them about the food thing. If you do want to talk about your drive to eat, that can work too. That's great. Be really honest. Share. It's my thinking that is so hungry. And even to have some compassion for that hungry thinking, you know, that really wants to be satisfied and it isn't. What are the thoughts you're having that feel unsatisfying? You know, what is feeling unsatisfying in your life? If you identify it, it feels more like it's out in the open and exposed. Write down what you feel like is missing. You can take those to inquiry. Very powerful. So just share with you a little bit from Byron Katie, Loving What Is. She says here, very early on in the book, page 5, as a matter of fact, a thought is harmless unless we believe it. It's not our thoughts, but the attachment to our thoughts that cause suffering. Attaching to a thought means believing it's true without inquiring. Can't stop eating. I'm not able. Go. A belief is a thought that we've been attaching to often for years. And you're just repeating. It's a repeated thought. Most people think that they are what their thoughts tell them they are. You know, that committee that's chattering away and saying how it's assessing you, what it thinks of you, who you are. Oh, that was pretty good. Oh, that was terrible. Oh, you're a rotten. You know, look at you now. They think that those voices are them. But it isn't true. They're just voices. And Katie goes on to say, one day I noticed that I wasn't breathing, and you could also replace that with I wasn't eating. I was being breathed. I was being moved through whatever thoughts, feelings, environment were going on. Then I also noticed to my amazement that I wasn't thinking, that I was actually being thought, and that thinking isn't personal. So, thinking's not personal. Just so powerful to notice. You know, did you decide to invent yourself saying, I am now, wake up in the morning and for the rest of my life and for how many years you've had struggling with food and eating, I am going to be the one that's wants to consume from here to there. It's just a symptom of other things we usually are thinking. And often when you have this intensity and you feel really out of control and like you just want to crash down the lid and stop this thing, that's how intense it feels. I just got to stop this thing. I don't care how, you just start to get sort of emergency mode. Then you can see what else, where you feel powerless, like you have no choice. You cannot win. And where you feel terrified, what's scaring you. How are you scaring yourself with your thoughts? And just begin to write. Just start to write them down and find somebody to share that with. And then you can take them to inquiry, one by one. Is that actually true that that thing is going to scare me to death or it's going to actually happen? Who would I be without that story? All right. So hopefully that will provide a little bit of relief. Just really want to help some people find relief today because I've had a lot of recent emails from people saying they feel out of control right now. And this has always been the case. People, you know what it feels like. And just remember, too, if you wait 24 hours without overeating, 24 hours from right now, if you just ate when you're listening and watching this video, if you wait 24 hours, so same time next day, without binge eating, without going wild, without all that intense craving, without responding to it, you will feel so much better. It only takes one day. You will start to feel better even before that. So just rest, don't overeat, don't start binging for 24 hours, and I guarantee you will feel better. And start to write. Okay, let me know how it goes.